guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've had a great week. In today's video, it's gonna get a little bit crazy because we're gonna be reacting to other people's reactions on TikTok to reading Osama bin Laden's letter to America. If you've been on social media in the last week, you will have probably seen that many young people have read Osama bin Laden's letter to America, and it has created a sympathy and almost a hero worship for this terrorist. And part of me can't believe that this is where we're at as a society. But then another part of me is like, well, it makes sense because people just feel like they can share whatever kind of crazy, whacked out opinions. And this is what we get. We just get people saying the most outrageous things on social media. And since that actually went viral on TikTok, TikTok has removed all of those videos, removed the hashtag letter to America and Osama bin Laden. And you know me, I am pro free speech. And sometimes the downside, because there are pros and cons to everything, sometimes the downside to free speech is that people will say things that are just absolutely outrageous, and these ideas go viral and a lot more people pick up on them and sympathize with these opinions. I don't think that TikTok should have taken down these videos, partly because I want us to be able to watch them together and discuss them. And I feel like that's how you learn and grow, is that you hear other people's opinions, you think about them, you analyze them, and you create your own opinions. So I don't believe that TikTok should have taken them down, but luckily you can still find these videos on X. And I did find a compilation video of some TikToks on X that we're going to be able to watch and react to now. But before we get into this video, I just want to say that I am going to speak very plainly on this topic, the way that I always do on every topic. If you feel like you might be sensitive to some of these things that we're going to be talking about, maybe this isn't the video for you. Maybe you want to watch one of my other more lighthearted videos instead, and I'll just catch up with you again next week. Otherwise, if you want to hear what I want to say and you still feel like you might get triggered, just buckle up, okay? Because we're gonna talk about some stuff here right now. Nothing that I say in this video is meant to be disrespectful to the victims of 9/11, but I just want to say that I have the utmost sympathy and respect for the victims and the families who were affected by 9/11. Anyway, if you're new here, hi, my name's Bryony and I post new videos every week, including social commentary and social media reactions. So if that sounds good, please consider subscribing and just take a chance on hearing some things that I have to say to you guys. Anyway, let's watch some of these TikToks and then we'll get into what we think about it.
That this group of people, this random group of people, just suddenly wakes up one day and just fucking hates you, just wants you dead, wants you gone, and this is all because they believe that they're better than us. Like, that is the root of terrorism. It doesn't make sense. They just hate your fucking nation. But reading this letter, it becomes apparent to me that the actions of 9/11 and those acts committed against the USA and its people were all just the buildup of our government failing other nations. In majority of these situations, and this letter was insanely eye-opening. I really urge everybody to Google and read it, because I thought that I had quite a lot of media literacy, but this takes it to a whole nother fucking level where I was just like, holy shit, like, propaganda is genuinely so deeply embedded into our fucking DNA.
Read a letter to America. You're probably waking up. You probably have a lot of questions. Welcome to the club. But we don't have a lot of time to sit and talk about everything because there's still so many puzzle pieces that we just do not know about.
Go read a letter to America. Like, seriously, go read it. Type a letter to America in Google or whatever you use, then come right back. Because this makes a lot more sense. It explains so much. And I guarantee you it's going to blow your mind. And let's talk about it. So go read it, come back. Whew. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Life does not. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Hey, are you even paying attention to me right now?
I read Osama bin Laden's letter to America.
The way this letter is going viral right now is giving me the greatest sense of relief. If you're Muslim and you've lived in the US since 9/11, you know more truth than the typical citizen. Now it's all coming to light because of Palestine.
Hey, are you even paying attention to me right now?
Okay, so what do we think about that? It is the current conflict between Israel and Palestine that has really made this gone viral and stirred up a lot of interest in this topic for people. And the people that are feeling this sort of understanding and sympathy towards Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda are the same people that are pro-Palestine. And look, the history and the politics of the Middle East is ancient. These are conflicts that have been going on for thousands of years, and there are very few people who have a thorough understanding of the politics and the conflicts that go on in this region of the world. And yet people feel so comfortable to share their opinion. Free Palestine, or they're pro-Israel. Here's how I think about it, and it's very simple. Terrorism and harming and injuring innocent civilians is not the way that you fight for your freedom. It's just never okay. So I think that's a fair thing to say, but there are other people that might say that when you're fighting for your freedom, nothing is off limits, you do whatever you have to do. And look, I can obviously sympathize with the people of Palestine wanting their freedom. I believe in freedom, and I think everyone on earth should live free. However, I also believe that Israeli people deserve to have some kind of home for themselves as well. I don't know enough about the history and the politics of Israel and Palestine to be able to sit here and tell you who I think is the rightful owners of that land and who belongs there and who's the problem and who's the... It's too complicated and too complex, and I feel like it's something that you could study for your entire life and only just sort of start to grasp some sort of real in-depth understanding of it. Terrorism is not okay, and these people are drawing a line and seeing a connection between Palestine and Hamas and Al Qaeda and bin Laden. And there are some similarities, and it can certainly be compared and contrasted with each other. But these terrorist organizations, Al Qaeda and Hamas, these are not the sort of messages, and these are not the groups that we should be raising up and giving a voice to on social media. Because terrorism, am I going crazy here that I actually have to sit here on camera and say terrorism's bad? But that's where we're at right now. Now, from what I understand, Hamas is all about liberating Palestine, but at the expense of the Israeli state. And that is where they are wrong. They basically want to annihilate Israel. They're not just fighting for their freedom, they're fighting against another people and their ideology in a similar kind of way that Al Qaeda was all about advancing Islam at the expense of the infidels. And the infidels are all of the rest of us that don't live by Islamic law. These ideologies are evil and toxic, just like any group trying to advance themselves over another group due to their ideologies, their race, their politics, any reason like that. It's evil. In an ideal world, obviously, we should all be able to just live in peace. But peace in the Middle East, like I said before, this is these are conflicts that have been going on for thousands of years. Can it ever truly be achieved? I don't know. But America is well known for inserting themselves in these international conflicts in a way that advances themselves as well. And now we're going to kind of get into the mud a little bit here, because 9/11, Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, they were blamed for 9/11, and then they took responsibility for it because they were committing all sorts of terrorist attacks all over the place. So taking responsibility for something like 9/11, it advanced their own cause. But in my opinion, and this is my opinion, okay, 9/11 was an inside job, and it was orchestrated by the US government. I'm not the only person that feels that way. I'm not going to get into explaining why I think that in this video, because this video is just going to be an hour long if I do. If you want a separate video explaining why I think 9/11 was an inside job, I can make that for you. It's going to take me a lot of research and putting all my thoughts and information together to present it to you in the best possible way. But kind of getting past that, America and its allies, which includes Australia, okay, we're not innocent here, but America and its allies make a lot of profit from war, instigating wars, perpetuating, making them go on and on. Instead of trying to end the war and create peace, there is profit to be made by governments in engaging in these wars. How is that possible? Well, not only is the Middle East very rich in natural resources like oil, which if foreign countries like the US are able to invade and take hold and gain some power and control in those countries, they then have power and control of the access to these resources. But also, America and its allies, don't get upset, Americans. All I'm saying here is just the truth, okay? America in particular makes firearms and weapons and sells them to these countries. And the people in government are invested in these companies that create these weapons and sell them overseas. So not only is the government making money from being able to access any resources that these countries have that they go into and invade and help and support, they also make money from supplying the weapons. And this is why war is ultimately just big business. And it sounds terrible because we are talking about the lives of innocent people here that are like, a life is worth less than money. But this is the way big corporations and governments think. And if you don't believe that your government is thinking like that and working against you, working against other people to line their own pockets, then you just haven't been paying attention. You just don't know anything about history. And that's, it's honestly wild to me. Let's have just a little read of this letter to America so that we can kind of see what other people are reading in this letter. And then we'll share some more thoughts on it. So the letter is quite long. I found a copy of it on X. We're just going to read little bits and pieces of it so we can get a general idea of the sentiment of and the message of the letter, okay? In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, permission to fight is given to those who are fought against, because they have been wronged, and surely Allah is able to give them victory. Some American writers have published articles under the title, "On What Basis Are We Fighting?" These articles have generated a number of responses, some of which adhered to the truth and were based on Islamic law, and others which have not. Here we wanted to outline the truth as an explanation and warning, hoping for Allah's reward, seeking success and support from Him. While seeking Allah's help, we form our reply based on two questions directed at the Americans. Why are we fighting and opposing you? What are we calling you to, and what do we want from you? As the first question, why are we fighting and opposing you? The answer is very simple. Because you attacked us and continue to attack us. You attacked us in Palestine. This is why it's getting so much attention, right? Palestine, which has sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years. The British handed over Palestine with your help and support to the Jews, who have occupied it for more than 50 years, overflowing with oppression, tyranny, crimes, killing, expulsion, destruction, and devastation. The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. And of course, there is no need to explain and prove the degree of American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime. Each and every person whose hands have become polluted in the continuation towards this crime must pay the price for it heavily. It brings us both laughter and tears to see that you have not yet tired of repeating your fabricated lies that the Jews have a historical right to Palestine, and it is promised to them in the Torah. Anyone who disputes with them on this alleged fact is accused of anti-Semitism. This is one of the most fallacious and widely circulated fabrications in history. The people of Palestine are pure Arabs and original Semites. It is the Muslims who are inheritors of Moses, peace be upon him, and inheritors of the real Torah that has not changed. The blood pouring out of Palestine must be equally revenged. You must know the Palestinians do not cry alone. Their women are not widowed alone. Their sons are not orphaned alone. Then he goes on to make a number of different points, including that the US and other foreign governments are oppressing them, taking their land that they believe is rightfully theirs, taking their oil and other resources at paltry price, occupying them with military and killing their wives and children. So then he goes on to explain why they are against the American people. You may then dispute that all the above does not justify aggression against civilians for crimes they did not commit and offenses for which they did not partake. This argument contradicts your continuous repetition that America is the land of freedom and its leaders in this world. Therefore, the American people are the ones who choose their government, and by way of their own free will, a choice which stems from their agreement to its policies. Thus, the American people have chosen, consented to, and confirmed their support for the Israeli occupation of Palestine and the occupation of the usurpation of this land and its continuous killing, torture, punishment, and expulsion of the Palestinians. The American people have the ability to choose to refuse these policies of their government and even change it if they want. The American people are the ones that pay taxes for the planes that bomb us in Afghanistan, the tanks that strike and destroy our homes in Palestine, the armies that occupy our lands in the Arabian Gulf, and the fleets which ensure the blockade of Iraq. And in the final part of the letter, which I'm not even going to bother reading to you, is him explaining what he is calling for Americans and their other Western allies to do, and that is to join Islam. So, pure and simple, he wanted everyone to be Islamic and live under Islamic law. And this is where nuance enters the conversation, okay? Because any cause or ideology that people believe in so strongly that they would sacrifice their own lives for it, it's going to have some righteousness and some truth behind it. Al-Qaeda, they felt like they were fighting for liberation and freedom. And the American people and their allies, Australian people, I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about just the regular people, the regular citizens that were getting the propaganda and the speeches from their politicians, felt like we were also fighting to liberate an oppressed people. So two ideas, two thoughts can exist at once, right? It's not like any side was particularly right or particularly wrong. What I take from that letter and just from the situation as a whole is that other countries that aren't involved in a conflict just shouldn't involve themselves. This is a conflict between Israel, Palestine, and other neighboring countries in that region. And what they're saying is they don't want the US and their allies to be coming in there, meddling around and profiting. Okay. And I can agree with that. I feel like America in particular, and remember Australia's an ally, so I'm allowed to say this, America in particular is always looking for ways to instigate conflicts, inflame conflicts when there is a way that a profit can be made or that their own power can be advanced. We've seen it between Russia and Ukraine, with America getting all involved and provoking Russia because they're selling arms to Ukraine. And they're doing the same in the Middle East. They always have. And even the weapons that they sell to one country, they know that that country is then selling those weapons off to other countries. And some of those other countries that they're selling their weapons off to are enemies of the US. But it's all about money in the end. It's never about peace. It's never about ending a conflict with as little bloodshed as possible. It's always about how can we make this as big and profitable and long lasting as possible. And what I most want us to understand and to think about is that people's lives are worth more than money. And while we are all fighting amongst ourselves, there are people that are getting rich off it. While there are people dying and there are children being hurt and there are women being widowed and people are losing their families, losing their own lives, there are people that are getting rich off this and profiting, and it's terrible. When these wars happen, everyone loses. Everyone loses except the people at the top that are instigating it and making money. They're like the ultimate puppet masters. And the people that are fighting in these wars and losing their lives, they're just the puppets. And it's disgusting and it's really sad. But I want to conclude this video by saying Osama bin Laden, not a hero. George W. Bush, definitely not a hero. Okay? The people of the world need to all come together in peace and understand that we are all the same, we are all one, and these conflicts, these never-ending conflicts and wars, and they divide us. They divide us by the color of our skin, what God we believe in. None of it means anything in the end because inside we all bleed red and we are all the same. So what I want to say is don't always just believe the current viral thing. Don't always just believe what the mainstream media is trying to sell you. Don't always just believe what your government is saying to you, because there's always these other agendas that are making them push these narratives when the only real truth is that we are all the same. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this video kind of interesting. I just had to talk about it. You can follow me on X at BryonyTwitX. You can follow me on Instagram, bryony.insta. You can follow me on Truth Social, BryonyTruth. You can follow me on Rumble, and you should be, Bryony Rumble. And of course, you can find me on YouTube, Bryony YouTube. Guys, I hope you have a great week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and please spread love. The world needs more of it, all right? Bye.